Hello student, good morning to all. Today I am going to explain you about the topic endocrines. In that introduction about the anterior pituitary hormones. Myself I am Mrs. Salma Kamal, Department of Pharmacology. Okay, let us start the lecture. Here we have the introduction about the term or word hormone. So it is a word which is derived from the Greek word hormoin, that means to stir up. Is a substance of intense biological activity that is produced by specific cells in the body and is transported through circulation to act on its target cells. Okay. So here we have different body functions which are governed by the various hormones. Let us see the first one, the availability of fuel, which is we get from the hormone, that is insulin, glucagon, growth hormone. Then metabolic rate, the triiodothyronine, thyroxine. Sex and reproduction by gonadotropins, androgens, estrogens, progestins. Circulating volume, that is governed by the hormones like aldosterone, antidiuretic hormone. Then somatic growth, which is governed by the growth hormone, insulin like growth factors. Then adaptation to stress, that is governed by the hormones like glucocorticoids and adrenaline. Then calcium balance, which is governed by the hormones like parathormone, calcitonin and vitamin D. So here we have the pituitary hormones. So they have been classified into anterior pituitary as well as posterior pituitary hormones. So let us see the anterior pituitary hormones like growth hormone, prolactin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, then thyroid stimulating hormone. Gonadotropins like follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. On the other hand, we have posterior pituitary hormones like oxytocin, antidiuretic hormone. Okay. Here our topic is, today we are going to discuss in detail about anterior pituitary hormones. Let us see. Anterior pituitary is the master endocrine gland, elaborates a number of important regulatory hormones. All of these are peptide in nature and act at extracellular receptors located on their target cells. The secretion is controlled by the hypothalamus through releasing and release inhibitory hormones that are transported via hypothalamo-physeal portal system and is subjected to feedback inhibition by the hormones of their target glands. Each anterior pituitary hormone is produced by a separate group of cells which, according to their staining characteristic, are either acidophilic or basophilic. Okay. So here we have the hormones like growth hormone, prolactin, gonadotropins, thyroid stimulating hormone and adrenocorticotropic hormone. These are the things which are belongs to the anterior pituitary hormones. The first one that we are going to discuss in detail about, the one is growth hormone. So growth hormone is very important. Why? Because it promotes growth of bones and all other organs by inducing hyperplasia. In general, there is a proportionate increase in the size and mass of all parts. But in the absence of gonadotropin, sexual maturation does not take place. The growth of brain and eye is independent of growth hormone. So growth hormone promotes utilization of fat and spares carbohydrate so that uptake of glucose by muscles is reduced while its output from liver is enhanced. That means it is going to cause fat is going to be breakdown. The growth hormone promoting nitrogen retaining and certain metabolic actions of growth hormones are exerted indirectly through the elaboration of peptides called somatomedins or insulin-like growth factors. Okay. So let us see the regulation of secretion. The hypothalamus produces growth hormone releasing as well as release inhibitory hormones. Both are peptide. Somatostatin is also produced by D cells of islets of Langerhans in the pancreas and by few other tissues. Okay. So pathological involvements are Excess production of growth hormone is responsible for gigantism in childhood and acromegaly in adults. Hyposecretion of growth hormone in children results in pituitary dwarfism. So here you can see the gigantism, acromegaly, dwarfism pictures, and the right hand side you can see the gigantism or acromegaly picture, and the left hand side you can see the growth retardation, nothing but dwarfism. Coming to the preparations and doses. So how to give this drug, at what concentration we have to give this drug. So the primary indication for growth hormone is pituitary dwarfism. The dose is 0.03 to 0.06 mg per kg daily in the evening or on alternate days up to the age of 20 years or more. Okay, so this recombinant growth hormone can also be used in Turner syndrome and in children with renal failure. If you see the other uses of this growth hormone is in adults growth hormone deficient patient, recombinant growth hormone 150 to 300 micrograms per day subcutaneously we can give to the patient. According to response increases lean body mass, decreases body fat, improves energy, and this mentation and may reduce excess morbidity and mortality, but stature is unaltered. So growth hormone has provided opportunity for its trial in catabolic states like severe burns, bedridden patient, chronic renal failure, osteoporosis, etc. It also can be used in the AIDS patient like AIDS related wastings. It is also used, or most of the athletics they use this drug as a abusive drug which increases the physical endurance. Okay, so it is banned in athletes and it is one of the drugs included in dope testing. Okay, coming to the adverse drug reaction, somatotropin has low immunogenicity, so allergic reaction, resistance to treatment are not a problem. The only thing is pain at the injection site, lipodystrophy, glucose intolerance, hypothyroidism, then salt and water retention, hand stiffness, myalgia, headaches are the possible adverse effects of growth hormone. So rise in intracranial tension occurs in few cases. Here we have growth hormone inhibitors like somatostatin and octreotide. So both are going to inhibit the secretion of growth hormone, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, insulin, glucagon, gastrointestinal secretions. So where we are going to use this somatostatin and octreotide. So this somatostatin, apart from the growth hormone inhibition, it also helpful for constrict the splanchnic, hepatic and renal blood vessel. So it decreases the gastrointestinal mucosal blood flow. So it is utilized for the controlling bleeding, esophageal varices and bleeding peptic ulcers. So that if you see the uses of this growth hormone inhibitors, apart from the acromegaly, it also used for the treatment of peptic ulcer, bleeding peptic ulcers. Coming to the other hormone, prolactin. So prolactin is the hormone originally described as a hormone which causes secretion of milk. Okay. The physiological function is prolactin is the primary stimulus which in conjunction with estrogens, progesterone and several other hormones causes growth and development of breast during pregnancy. It promotes proliferation of ductal as well as acinar cells in the breast and induces synthesis of milk proteins and lactose. So after parturition, prolactin induces milk secretion. Since the inhibitory influence of high estrogen and progesterone levels is withdrawn. So this prolactin also suppresses the hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis by inhibiting growth hormone release. So it is continued high levels of prolactin during breastfeeding is responsible for lactational amenorrhea, inhibition of ovulation and infertility for several months postpartum. So coming to the regulation of secretion of prolactin, prolactin is under predominantly inhibitory control of hypothalamus through prolactin releasing inhibitory hormone, which is dopamine, that acts on the pituitary lactotrope D2 receptors. The physiological involvement is this hyperprolactinemia is responsible for the galacturia, amenorrhea, infertility syndrome in women. Whereas in men, it is going to cause loss of libido and depressed fertility. It causes hyperprolactinemia. Here in this slide you can see the prolactin inhibitors like bromocriptine, cabergoline. Okay, so the important one is bromocriptine. The actions are, it is a potent dopaminergic agonist. Then it decreases prolactin release from the pituitary gland. So it is also called as the anti-galactopoietic. Increases growth hormone release in normal individuals but decreases the same from the pituitary tumors that cause acromegaly. It has levodopa-like action in CNS, anti-Parkinsonian and behavioral effects. It is going to cause anti-Parkinsonism and behavioral effect. Produces nausea and vomiting by stimulating dopaminergic receptors in the chemo-trigger zone. Then the most important effect of this bromocriptine, it is going to cause hypotension due to central suppression of postural reflexes and weak peripheral adrenergic blockade. It also decreases the gastrointestinal motility. Coming to the pharmacokinetics, the bioavailability of this drug is lowered by first pass metabolism. BA means bioavailability, FPM means first pass metabolites. So first pass metabolism. So the metabolites are excreted in bile, and the only 1/3 of the oral dose of bromocriptine is observed. Okay. Then food also affects the absorption of the drug. Okay. So these metabolites are mainly metabolized in the this drug is metabolized in the liver, and the metabolites are excreted through the bile. The plasma T-half is 3 to 6 hours. The pharmacological uses are, it is used for the hyperprolactinemia due to microprolactinomas causing galacturia, amenorrhea and infertility in women. Gynecomastia, impotence and sterility in men. Bromocriptine and carbagoline are the first line drug for most of the cases. Okay. Then it is also used for the treatment of acromegaly due to small pituitary tumors, and inoperable cases relatively higher doses are required, and it is less effective than octreotide. Oral administration and lowest cost are the advantages. When you compare with the octreotide, bromocriptine, this is advantageous. It is also used for the treatment of Parkinsonism because of anti-dopaminergic activity at D2 receptors. Bromocriptine, if used alone, is effective only at higher doses, which produce marked side effects. Okay. Then this drug causes the adverse drug reaction. If you start this drug, the early side effects are hypotension. So the hypotension is mainly because of causes the syncopal attack to the patient. Then on the later side, the behavioral alteration, mental confusion, hallucination, psychosis are more prominent than the levodopa. So it is used for the Parkinsonism drug as an antidopaminergic drug. The primary drug is levodopa. When you compared with this, so these are the adverse drug reaction you see which are more prominent than the levodopa. Okay. Then we have the other endocrines like gonadotropins, gonadal hormones, okay, FSH and LH. follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So these two hormones are very important to promote gametogenesis in both males and females, and secretion of gonadal hormone. Let us see their physiological importance. FSH in the female, it induces follicular growth, development of ovum and secretion of estrogens. In the male, it supports spermatogenesis and has a trophic influence on seminiferous tubule. Whereas luteinizing hormone, it induces pre-ovulatory swelling of the right Graafian follicle and triggers ovulation followed by luteinization of the ruptured follicle and sustains corpus luteum till the next menstrual cycle. Okay. In the male, luteinizing hormone stimulates the testosterone secretion by the interstitial cells and is designated interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Okay. So where it is used, FSH and LH. So mainly to treat the conditions like amenorrhea and infertility, because when it is due to deficient production of gonadal hormones by pituitary. Okay. So after giving this drug, ovulation occurs within the next 24 to 48 hours in up to 75% cases, and the women who conceive, the women may conceive. However, rates of abortion and multiple pregnancy are high, but not of teratogenicity. Okay. So it is mainly used for harvesting the ovum for in vitro fertilization. Okay. Then it is also used for the condition like hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism in males. Manifestation as delayed puberty or defective spermatogenesis, oligozoospermia, male sterility. Generally, sexual maturation is induced by androgens. Okay. Then it is also used for the condition like cryptorchidism. So what is this cryptorchidism? Since undescended testes can cause infertility and predispose to testicular cancer, medical surgical treatment is imperative. Descent of testes can be induced by androgen, whose production is stimulated by luteinizing hormone. It is also used to aid in vitro fertilization. To aid in vitro fertilization. So these FSH and LH have been used to induce simultaneous maturation of several ova and to precisely time ovulation, so as to facilitate their harvesting for in vitro fertilization. Okay. Then coming to the adverse drug reactions and precautions. So because of these reasons, so you have to give precautiously in certain cases. So what are the adverse drug reaction? So ovarian hyperstimulation, precocious puberty, allergic reaction because it liberates the histamine, hormone dependent malignancies. Okay. Then gonadotropin releasing hormone or GnRH, the agonistla, naparelin, goserelin, triptorelin. So what they are going to do is they induces the prompt release of luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone. So where we are going to use these drugs? So these drugs are used in precocious puberty, prostatic carcinoma, endometriosis, premenopausal breast cancer, uterine leukemia, polycystic ovarian disease, and to assist induced ovulation. They also have potential to be used as contraceptive for both males as well as females. Okay. Then come to the adverse drug reactions. When you use this drug, the patient may experience hot flashes, loss of libido, vaginal dryness, osteoporosis, and emotional lability. Okay, so these are the expected side effects. Then gonadotropin releasing hormone antagonists. So these drugs which are going to inhibit the gonadotropin releasing hormones, that is ganirelix, ganirelix, cetrorelix. Okay, so where we are going to use these two drugs antagonists for inhibiting LH surges during controlled ovarian stimulation in women undergoing in vitro fertilization. So when you give this drug for the harvesting of the ova to the woman to assist in vitro fertilization, there to control the gonadal hormone side effects, we have to give antagonists like this ganirelix and cetrorelix. Okay. So if they carry a lower risk of ovarian hyperstimulation, they achieve more complete suppression of endogenous gonadal secretion. They produce quick gonadal suppression by competitive antagonism. So they are very much needed when you are using the agonist. If they causes any side effect, to suppress it, we have to give some of the antagonists. So these drugs are very helpful when you are going to use growth gonadal hormone releasing drugs. Okay. Then coming to the other hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone. So the name itself telling you that it stimulates the hormone to be released. Okay. So TSH stimulates thyroid to synthesize and secrete thyroxine and triiodothyronin. Its actions are induces hyperplasia and hypertrophy of thyroid follicles and increases blood supply to the gland. Then promotes trapping of iodide into thyroid by increasing sodium iodide symporter. Promotes organification of trapped iodine and its incorporation into T3 and T4 by increasing peroxidase activity. Enhances endocytotic uptake of thyroid colloid. Okay, these are the various physiological functions of thyroid stimulating hormone. So where you need this thyroid stimulating hormone? So only few cases of hypo or hyperthyroidism are due to inappropriate TSH secretion. Okay. So Graves' disease is due to immunoglobulin of IgG class, which attaches to the thyroid cells and stimulates them in the same way as TSH. Okay. The uses are thyrotropin has no therapeutic use. Okay. So diagnostically, the diagnostic application is to differentiate myxedema due to pituitary dysfunction from pituitary thyroid disease. That is the only indication. But therapeutically, we doesn't use this drug or hormone. So we have the other hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone or ACTH corticotropin. The physiological function of this hormone is it promotes steroidogenesis in adrenal cortex by stimulating cyclic AMP formation in cortical cells through specific cell surface receptors. Okay. So regulation of secretion is by hypothalamus. ACTH released from pituitary through corticotropin releasing hormone. Then its concentration is peak plasma levels occur in the early morning, decrease during day and are lowest at midnight. Early morning the corticosteroid levels are very high. At the daytime they are less. At the midnight they are at the lowest concentration. Okay. So if you give some stimulus, then also they can be released in the body. So what are those conditions mean? A variety of stressful stimuli like trauma, surgery, severe pain, anxiety, fear, blood loss, exposure to cold. So these are the things which generate neural impulses which converge on median eminence to cause elaboration of corticotropin releasing hormone. Okay. So let us see the pathological condition, Addison disease and Cushing syndrome. So if the less corticotropin hormone means Addison disease. If it is high level, that is Cushing syndrome. Excess production of ACTH from basophilic pituitary tumors is responsible for some cases of Cushing syndrome. Hypocorticolism occurs in pituitary insufficiency due to low ACTH production. Okay, so the uses of ACTH is used primarily for the diagnosis of disorders of pituitary adrenal axis. Okay, so it is used for the diagnosis of disorders of pituitary adrenal axis. Injected IV 25 units, international units, causes increase in plasma cortisol if the adrenals are functional. Direct assay of plasma ACTH level is now preferred. For the therapeutic purposes, ACTH does not offer any advantage over corticosteroid and is more inconvenient, expensive as well as less predictable. Okay, so after seeing all the hormones, what are the hormones that comes from the anterior part of the pituitary, what are their physiological role, then what are the agonists, what are their antagonists, where they are clinically used. We have seen all these things in the chapter anterior pituitary hormones. Okay, so you need to remember the important points regarding the anterior pituitary hormones. Okay, so I think you have understood very well my lecture anterior pituitary hormones. Okay, thank you students.